I don't think a good week for the Big 12.
Not a good, no, terrible week, Brandon. Terrible.
And I think obviously at the top you look at Iowa State stumbling at home to Texas Tech, and also like real quick, and I guess we'll dive into this more once we get to that game. But out of all the times we've defended Joey McGuire and we've gone to the table, this is how he repays us. Like this is the time where he shows
This
up
is the
and
time. You got to
coaches
be
at an
kidding
elite
me.
level.
I is this the first game we're talking about, Brandon? Are we gonna go
Yeah,
Texas
let's
Tech
just hop
Iowa State
into it.
again?
Texas Tech, Iowa State. Real good game if you didn't have personal interest in it.
Yeah,
Boy, I thought
a painful loss.
every time Rocco gets the ball with an opportunity to win the game, it feels like it's falling in Iowa State's favor, but couldn't
But
come through.
too many turnovers for Iowa State. Let's begin with that. Inexcusable amount of turnovers. I thought the defense was really strong throughout the majority of the game. I know they gave up the touchdown at the end, but I thought the offense didn't do their job for a good chunk. Again, the turnovers were painful. Rocco had a couple of missed throws that weren't their best. You know, Conradi, kicker, been great all season long. He did have it was a long kick too, and the weather was pretty junky, but he had a pretty bad miss in the fourth quarter that could have helped him out. Iowa State had their shot though. They got the lead with 2 minutes to go. I thought the defense was going to put it away and give Texas Tech a lot of credit. They went down, they drove, and they were able to get that score. So, Brandon, obviously it was a tough situation and not a. I'm just disappointed in the Cyclones. I very winnable game, homecoming, very good crowd, and they couldn't get it done. Now, does that take them out of the Big 12 championship picture? Not even remotely. I think you just got to win out based on kind of what I'm seeing on Twitter from the Iowa State experts. Win out, you should still be able to make the Big 12 championship game, but that level of air is gone. Like you lose again, you're in trouble now. So
Yeah.
it will be interesting. And a missed chance for them too, considering K-State's stunning loss yesterday, where they could have had a 2-game lead, and that Farmageddon game, even with a loss, might have not had that big of an impact in the end. But they couldn't get it done. And give Texas Tech, I'll give them credit, Brandon. They played really, they hung in there. And again, that defense was able to force enough turnovers. Their offense got off to a good start. They struggled throughout a good chunk of the game, but they got the drive they needed to at the very end. And Boyd was really good. Tough loss for the Cyclones.
I saw someone bring this up on Twitter. Is there a world where this loss does more good than bad, in the sense that you look at this game, and this is a good Texas Tech team, a much improved Texas Tech team. Like I said, the defense did a really good job of keeping them from outscoring 1,000,000 points like they're used to. And nothing kind of went your way. I mean, a couple of those turnovers, like back, that missed kick, the weather wasn't great. Had even a bad drop on the final drive, trying to regain the lead after the Texas Tech touchdown. It didn't feel like it was Iowa State's day, and you still had a chance to win that game against a good team. But now you don't have the weight of this perfect season on you, and I think we see perfect seasons all the time from Georgia's and Ohio State's and Texas's. But to a program like Iowa State that's never had that, that's a lot of weight that I don't think anybody can really be prepared for. So, I mean, I'm really looking at the glass half full here, but there is a world where this does more good than bad. Because now it's just like, okay, well, now it's just winning 3 games. Winning the last 3 games, winning Farmageddon, and everything you could ever dream of from the season is still on the table.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, Iowa State can still put together a special season, and they can make the Big 12 championship game if they lost it. I just don't think they can get into the college football playoff. I do think they're going to have to get that auto bid, Brandon. I really do.
I think, I don't know, Drew Russell, I think at the end of the day, 11 wins still gets you in. In a world where there's not
That's going
going
to
to
be
be
the big
that many.
debate. Yeah.
Because then it's really going to come down to like a 10-2 versus 11-1. And boy, because at that point, BYU's 13-0. They're going to be in the top 5. Your only loss is a championship level game to a top 5 team. I mean,
Yep.
And I mean, I know that Iowa win is, and that Iowa wins. It's looking a lot better these days. And by the end of November, like Iowa typically does, that's gonna look like a pretty good win. So 11 wins still feels fine to me. But yeah, you're right. It'll be close. I guess we'll have to see what those 10-win teams look like. But like, I don't think that you're picking Iowa State over like an 11-win SEC team or an 11-win Big Ten team. But I don't think you're going to have a lot of those kind of teams in this race come the end of the year.
Right. I mean, if Iowa State has 2 losses, would they take a 3-loss Big Ten or SEC team over them? I don't think so. I do think there is going to be a line of like, we just cannot have a certain amount of losses unless you're the conference champ, but you won't have that many losses if you're the conference champ either. So I don't know, Brandon Shanahan. Like, this is kind of one of those scenarios that is interesting. And I think we have to wait till Tuesday's reveal show just to get an idea of where the committee's head is at right now. And I'm not expecting Iowa State to be in that initial poll. I want to make that very clear. I really think there's only going to be BYU in that projected slot of, hey, this is your automatic winner out of the Big 12. I don't think there'll be any other Big 12 teams, but that doesn't mean in the month of November, aka moving month, that you can't make and create those kind of opportunities.
We got a moving month in college football now, don't we?
Why not? It's moving month. I mean, it is kind of, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's like
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I just never thought of that before. Yeah, we got moving month now.
Moving month. I mean, it's like college basketball. Like this last week into the conference tournaments, you see teams like play their way into the NCAA tournament, or bid stealers. Like anything could happen. And I mean, there are definitely teams like you'll be interested to keep an eye on a couple of those Big Ten teams if they do slip up once again or not. Like, let's say Ohio State somehow loses the big game against Michigan again. That's a 2-loss Ohio State team. Do they find a way to still sneak in, or would they keep them out? I don't know. They might be firing Ryan Day even if they make the college football playoff because they do not lose to Michigan. They hate Michigan. So I don't know. I do find it interesting just how this entire scenario played out. Georgia almost lost to Florida yesterday. They were on the ropes.
They really should have lost to Florida.
I thought they should have. And if they had, what do you do with them? That's a good team, clearly, but that's a 2-loss team, and they're probably not playing in a conference championship. Would they get in? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
It's just wild.
But the last phrase that I wanted to mention, March Madness related, that in this world where we get multiple bids, there can't be any bid stealers. Like, it's got to be pretty clean. Oregon's got to win the Big Ten.
Agreed.
I guess the SEC doesn't matter because none of those teams are undefeated. Miami has to clean house in the ACC.
Yes.
You can't have a 2-loss SMU or 2-loss Clemson sneaking up on you and getting an automatic bid, because then you're looking at a 12-win Miami team. I mean, that's a losing battle.
And that's what makes those conference championships all of a sudden more interesting. Because if you're let's say you're BYU or you're Miami, let's say you do go undefeated, Brandon, then you're looking at a scenario where let's say this on BYU. I mean, I think they still in if they're a 1-loss team. I think they're in as an at-large. I'll say that. If
12 wins feels like it gets you in, without it.
Right. And say with Miami, again, if they lose, they're still in. You have to think the ACC and Big 12 are just looking at the other conference, just praying, BYU, take care of your business in the conference championship game. We need an extra at-large for our potentially SMU or Clemson. And say with the Big 12 of, hey, Miami, take care of your business.
Yeah, win it clean.
Win it clean so that maybe we can sneak one of an Iowa State Iowa State for now, maybe Colorado, who knows.
Watch out.
Sneak them in. I mean, that's the possibilities really are endless. But going back to the Big 12 and to that game specifically, Brandon, it just shows the chaos of the season. Yesterday, they were showing, I think, at the TC or it was the Iowa State game. They said here were the preseason projections, and they had Utah and Oklahoma State and so many big schools that were Kansas that were anticipated to do well. and then they just like use this like crane to knock down like almost all the top 7, and like the only ones left are like Kansas State and Iowa State. And that's been how the season has been. It's been just continuous mayhem of how things have played out. So, but again, back to Iowa State, a tough loss. It's still been a great season considering the history of Cyclone football, but it doesn't take away from the fact just the bizarreness of everything that's been going on. So,
yeah, it's a tough spot, and this conference championship game stuff. This is exactly why I think this is the perfect format, because these conference championship games matter so much. And then when the conference championship games matter, the rest of the regular season matters. Because even if you, even Kansas State right now with 2 losses, they're like, boy, if we can just get into the Big 12 championship game, we got a chance to win a national championship still. That's unbelievable. That's such beautiful, because I think the argument against an expanded playoff is, well, it devalues the regular season. I think maybe it's like the very, very top level. Like that Texas-Georgia game probably didn't have the same amount of juice. But you look at, there's so many more games that mean so much more that it outweighs that tenfold. And I think you're absolutely right. Kansas or Iowa State's path, you get a home game at Arrowhead on Saturday. You got Cincinnati at home. You go to Utah, Salt Lake City. And then, of course, Farmageddon. You get that one in Ames. Boy, that's doable. That's doable, but you got to take care of business. They're going to be favored in, I'd imagine, all of those games until they lose. Gotta just take care of business now. That's all it is.
Take care of your business. That's the number one thing right now, Brandon. You got to take, TCB, Brandon, taking care of business. Just do a little TCB, little in-house cleaning.